Ready to revolutionize your higher ed marketing game?
Yes!
Well, then don't miss out on Element 451's Engage Summit, June 27 and 28. Explore the cutting edge world of education and AI technology and unleash your creativity like never before. Register today at engage.element451.com and use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. The global gathering for educators and institutions is here. Anthology Together is where inspiration, connection, networking, and EdTech insight and innovation intersect into the premier event destination for the global education community. Registration is open. Go to anthologytogether.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas coming back to you again, and I haven't in a while. I'm usually not on the mic, but when I do come on the mic, I come on for special occasions, and I have a very cool guest that I'm going to get to in a little bit. But first, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone, thousands of you, who have purchased our book, Commencement, the Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education. It has been just overwhelming with the amount of support that we have received from everyone in the higher education community and around the community of higher education, those who are working in and out. So thank you all so much for that. And also thank you to the EdUp communities for your support. We have a few shows coming up. We just released, this will be out in a couple of weeks, but we just released our EdUp Marcom podcast with Philip Smith. Please feel free to check that out. Go to edupexperience.com/shows, and you can see all our shows there. So we have EdUp in AI, EdUp in Marcom. We got a few that we're working on, EdUp in Portuguese, and EdUp Career Development. So stay tuned for that. Go to edupexperience.com to sign up for the email to be up to date with all the information. Okay, now enough of all that good stuff. Let's get to my guest. So very excited, and a big shout out to our friend Derek Newton for making this connection to talk to the guest today. And his name is
Besart,
and he is the founder and CEO at
Crossplag.
Besart. Welcome to the EdUp Experience. How you doing?
I'm fine, Alvin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And so I understand that you're in Arizona right now, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But you're not from Arizona, but you're traveling, doing work there. And so let's kind of level set for the audience. First things first, tell us about what you do and how do you do it?
Okay, so I'll try to keep this one short. So yeah, what I do is basically I founded a company that, as I said, called Crossplag. And it's a company that has gone through different transitions in the past 7 years. And what we do is practically we build solutions for academic integrity, to uphold academic integrity. We had started initially of building products like plagiarism detection, whether in single language, cross language, we can get into details later. And recently we have launched our AI content detection. And how I do it is I have an amazing team. That's how I do it. I work with a great team from both Europe, US, everywhere in the world, and that are passionate about education and most importantly, passionate about building reliable and secure solutions to uphold academic integrity. It's not that difficult, though.
That's awesome. And, this is very timely, given what's going on in the world, obviously, with the development of AI and how rapidly it's just moving forward and progressing. So this sounds really interesting. Tell us a little bit about the backstory here, because I think this would be very interesting, kind of where you're from, your educational history, and how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, thanks. And I mean, how I came up with building solutions for academic integrity, it all starts with the region I was born in, which is Kosovo, Pristina. It's in the Western Balkans. It's a very small country. It has declared the independence in 2008. And basically I was studying abroad, and first I was introduced to a plagiarism detection software to kind of upload my assignment, my first essay in university. And that moment was a big shock for me because there were two things that I didn't know. First, I wasn't aware that much of what plagiarism means, to be very honest. And secondly, there is
Interesting.
actually a tool that detects that. So I said like, wow, so I have now to be very careful. And I remember the first time I submitted my assignment, I was very stressed for a week until the kind of the review and the feedback from my professor came in. And when I saw that it was at that point it was okay, although I didn't plagiarize, I was just scared that, you know, things like that may come up, but they didn't. So along the way, I saw how important it is to do proper research, how important it is to kind of write properly and attribute credit to other people when they do good work. And I was thinking, what are my peers and my friends doing back home, which was back in Kosovo. And I was reading about that. I got very interested into this topic, and I saw that there is no one actually in the world, no company, no solution is that supports Albanian language in plagiarism detection. And then I understood that that came as a result of two things, which were first the complexity of the language, and the second was that it was a very small market for these big companies. And that's how it got started. Do you want to give you more insights or leave it here?
Keep going. So you wait. I just want to ask. You were studying abroad in the UK, right? When you say you were studying abroad.
Yeah, I was studying at the University of Sheffield. They had like a campus in Greece, in Thessaloniki, and I was studying from there. So it was a mix between Thessaloniki and UK back at the time. But yeah, it was completely part of the University of Sheffield. And was when I started using the solution. And yeah, upon graduation, when I graduated, I gathered some of my team, some of my friends, and we created a team that basically we set a goal that we will build the only and the first Albanian plagiarism detection software. And then we did that in a year or so. But then we understood, like we were learning. It was a very good learning process because we understood that mostly plagiarism in Albania, like in the Albanian speaking region, comes from translations. It's not that we have a lot of academic output that we can kind of potentially even copy from. So what people usually did in terms of conducting plagiarism or kind of bypassing the systems, it was to translate content. So they were, let's say they were getting a paper in English, translating that into Albanian, and Google Translate made that very easy. It was the first AI that we tried to tackle. And yeah, so they would submit that in Albanian. It would look like completely authentic. And then was the time when we thought, okay, now we have to build a cross-lingual plagiarism detection that would allow you to find plagiarism across languages. And that's what we did. And actually, this is how the name Crossplag came, because we created it from two words, cross-lingual plagiarism, and then we created the word Crossplag. And I believe by the time when we launched it, we were the first cross-lingual plagiarism detection software in the world. This is at least what the European Network for Academic Integrity said back in 2018. And from there on, we really focused to improve our solution, to make it better, to support more languages, to be more reliable, more secure, to be more scalable, and be able to compare different documents from different resources and so on. So yeah, this was the backstory of Crossplag.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I guess what I'm focusing on is how you just kind of skipped over that. You just started a company like if it was no big deal. Starting a company is a lot of work. You know, it's like, where did you get the funding? How did you start it? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, just real quick. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I mean, just to give you a background information, in the Western Balkans, in the country that I came from, Kosovo, it's a very small and not that developed country. So making a living there, or like kind of living there, is not that expensive. You can have like a really, let's say, part-time job, and you can kind of live quite well. But I think, like, apart from all these, the most important factors were two, which was first, I had an incredible team back home, credible friends that really believed in this vision and wanted to build this with me. And I'm very grateful for them on doing that. And secondly, I found it was my ex-boss and now my partner, Ali Tin, who actually believed very early on that we have something going on. Although everyone that we pitched our idea said, you're focused on a very small market, you're focused on a very difficult market, there's no business there. But he was an education entrepreneur for more than 20 years. He understood these concepts and understood the vision, what we wanted to do. So he joined us in 2018 and kind of helped us with funding, helped us with kickstart the business, grow the team, and build the solutions that we have today. So I attribute all this work to these two factors because, as you said, like I make it easy because I had a great partner and a great team. So that felt a bit easy for me. But yeah, otherwise it would have been quite difficult to also find funding and find the right partners that believe in this vision.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And it's amazing how one person can just completely change, right? The trajectory of your life, that partnership there and that mentorship. And I'm sure has been and continues to be very impactful. So that's great background to hear about that. So I am curious. I think our listeners, and I'm curious, I think our listeners would be too, is to talk to us about how the company has developed from that time, because obviously, like you say, it was niche, but you've grown out of that. So talk about that development and where you are now. What's your main focus now?
Yeah. So back when we started, we had only that focus. We never, to be honest, like we never had that dream or the goal to really be a global company, have a team that's around the world that works on this vision. And but along the way, when we did the cross-lingual, I think that was the turning point for us, because we understood that actually no one was doing what we were doing. And we said, like, there are a lot of other communities and a lot of geographical areas that have the same needs as Kosovo, like in terms of the languages. And we said, English is the language of science for sure, but there are a lot of other languages being spoken around the world, and a lot of them copy from English. And we said, like, okay, so this is what we need to do. And actually, international students in both US, UK, or everywhere where the English is a primary language, there are a lot of students, Australia, that are a lot of international students that are bilingual, and most probably there are a lot of chances that most of them are writing whether their thesis or their papers on a case study for let's say back home, a story back home. So, and there is a lot of room for them to kind of borrow text from their native language, potentially translate that in English, and use that as authentic writing, which we kind of didn't want that to slip, and we wanted to detect it. But as I said, like when we started this, we understood that in order to treat plagiarism, we really need to understand the sentence structure. We really need to understand the language of writing of a document. And so that allowed us to do the cross-lingual. And when the ChatGPT, the very big topic nowadays, came, kind of was launched, we already had some systems in place, some technologies in place that could be used, tuned, and kind of to address this problem. And actually now we are having a moment of, let's say, a good pivot, not a bad pivot, but in a good way to pivot our company from plagiarism detection more to originality verification. That's what we are currently doing, because our approach is we are not looking at the document anymore just to find similarities. We believe that that's a thing of the past. Of course, we need to have systems in place to detect that, to kind of ensure the originality in writing. But now, most importantly, is to have this kind of originality metrics like single language, cross language, and AI content detection all in one, and make sense for the end user. So that's what we do. We try to get these different, let's say, writing metrics, as we call them, and make sense out of them on different insights that educators and institutions want to have insights on. For example, now we give you originality scores for different or similarity scores for different metrics like single language, cross language, and AI detection. But we are moving more into making this potentially only one metric, so you don't get lost into too many insights in it. So we kind of simplify the process for educators and save time for them, so they don't have to go in through every document in terms of looking whether there are any potential misconducts, but to group them prior for the educator and to make it easier to grade it and to provide feedback on moving forward.
Don't settle for average marketing strategies. Join us at the Element 451 Engage Summit, June 27 and 28, and discover how to harness the power of AI technology in higher ed marketing. Connect with industry leaders, explore cutting-edge technologies, and future-proof your marketing strategy. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. Register now at engage.element451.com. Their premier EdTech event is right around the corner.
Epic.
Anthology Together is the destination for visionaries, educators, and learners ready to unleash the power of education technology. EdUp will be on site for the thought-provoking keynotes, peer-driven discussions, and unparalleled networking opportunities. We guarantee you will leave inspired and connected. You don't want to miss it. Book your tickets to Nashville for AT23, July 17th to July 20th. Register today at anthologytogether.com.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's amazing. I love the development of that. I think the component that I want to double down on a little bit and explore is this whole concept of originality verification. I love that. I never really thought about those two words put together. So I think that's super interesting. Can you tell us, don't go too deep into the mechanics of it, but I think it would be interesting to know, how does this work? I mean, is it that a faculty member or teacher is taking a paper and uploading it to the website, and then you get that score, and then based on the score, what's the score? And then what, kind of walk us through what happens after that? You know, is there like a big red sign that says, no, this is not original, this was created by AI, you know, go back to the student, tell them to do it again, and then kind of what's that process like? Lay that out for us.
Yeah. So I mean, the workflows are different depending on the needs of the institution. Like either the student uploads it and sends it over to the educator or professor, or the professor or educator uploads it themselves. It all depends on, let's say, the policies and the workflows that are needed and kind of more friendly for the end user. So we have a very flexible approach in this, and maybe I'll talk more about this in the coming minutes in terms of how we do that, but I'll keep it simple on the originality verification. So our vision is to practically bucket these documents in 3 categories. On those that we are very sure that there are no potential misconducts involved in it, so we kind of clear them out, like the first bucket, like the very high originality, let's say, metric. And the second one is that we are not sure. There are some flags, but you know, it would be nice if you give it a second thought and second read on it, and you can go through it. So we kind of give these kind of flags to the educator. And the third one is where we are really, really sure that, you know, this document has originality problems. And what we say by that is either we find levels of similarities in whether single language or translations that are, you know, against the academic standards and academic integrity standards. And we couple all of these metrics to tell the educator, like, here are the problems. You can go through each of the problems, but we have grouped all of this into one, let's say, very short analysis of the document. So we tell you, like, the student has mainly copied from these sources, has done a lot of, let's say, has included a lot of ChatGPT with, or like an other AI generative system. And those are very important where they come from. Just to give you a context, for example, you have a document that has 100 pages and it has, you know, all of these sentences scattered around the document that are similar. And most of the plagiarism detection software give you just, let's say, a similarity score, how much % of the text is similar to another one, but they don't do much more analysis to it. So what we want to do is we want to see where are these source like similarities are coming from first. Secondly, like which part of the documents the similarities are coming from. For example, let's say in literature review, they would not be that big of a problem because, it's exactly literature review. So you got text from other papers, but let's say if it's in the conclusions or recommendations or the methodology or the parts that are very, let's say, where your critical thinking is very important to be involved, then we put more weight to those similarities, and we try to kind of alarm the educators on these problems. And so we try to simplify it for an educator, but we also allow them to go into advanced analysis of the document. So we give them for on a sentence level, we report the misconducts we found, and then it's the educator who decides whether those are misconducts, an investigation is needed, or what's the process moving forward. But we are there just to give them as many insights as we can, but also simplifying those insights for both the educator and the student, because there's one approach that we take in our software. Then once an evaluation is done by the educator, we make it available to the student too, so they see all of their problems in it and all of the comments by the educator. So it's not an educator tool, it's more of a collaborative tool. So the two, like both the educator and the student get involved in the process. And that's very important for us. And that's what we push a lot into our partners and clients to kind of implement, because we believe that transparency, accountability, and a educational learning process in upholding academic integrity is much more important than the policing approach.
That is awesome. That is amazing. And I love that, because it's the collaborative approach. I mean, like you said, it's been, I feel like it's always been the policing. It's like the student gives the paper to the teacher, faculty member, and then they look it up to see if it's been plagiarized, and then they go back to the student, hey, this is plagiarized. And so there's this sense of fear almost as a student when you're submitting your papers. Even like you say, even in your story, like you're not sure if you did, hopefully you didn't plagiarize, but sometimes things come out of your head, they come onto the paper that are maybe similar to what somebody else said, right? And so the idea that we're working together, it's collaborative, let's see, and then it's an educational moment, right? Like a lot of teachers like to say, it's an education where we're both learning together, and maybe the teacher or faculty member can teach them and say, okay, this is what I've seen, and based on, not just the score, but wow, the outline of how you're able to pinpoint the sections. And I just think that's phenomenal. That's an amazing tool. And so I'm thinking, a lot of our listeners work in higher education. We got college presidents, provosts, deans, administrators, all the way on top to bottom. And so I'm trying to figure out, how is it that these colleges work with you? How are they approaching you? Are you approaching them? What's that process like? And again, when they come to you, and I see in your website, you have over 100 languages supported, which is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And so, are they coming to you from all over the world? Is mostly in the UK, these college universities? I'm asking a lot of questions, but but hopefully, you can tell us kind of like the story. Tell us the story of like how people in higher education can get involved with you. How have they been getting involved with you? And what do those relationships look like?
Yeah, no, and as I said, like I would like to explain how we kind of work in integrations and workflows that we have, because I think those are very important for your listeners. Yeah, so basically how we work, it's a two-step approach, or like a two-lane approach. First one is you can work directly with us. We have workflows that support from the management, having, let's say, the presidents of universities having like almost in real time insights on both plagiarism, academic integrity, and what's going on in the institution, who is uploading what, have, these big dashboards of data and analysis that are simplified for the management, so they can keep track of everything going on in the institution. And then we have the educator account, the student account, then we can create like very, let's say, fast customizable accounts for, let's say, academic integrity officers or teaching assistants or whatever roles that they want to involve in this process of upholding academic integrity. So it all depends on an university approach and needs. But what we are recommending mostly, because it's even institutions are liking, is that they kind of get our solution from our partners, from our existing partners. For example, what mostly we work with partners. What it means is we have other edtech companies working with us, for example, assessment, proctoring, or different types of edtech companies that serve universities already and are part of the system, or these LMSs and LMSs and learning management, different learning management systems that universities use. So we partner with those, we integrate in their solution, and they can cross-sell, if I may say, to the institutions and integrate that in their existing workflows. Because what we don't like is to kind of make educators and students navigate into two different platforms. For example, go in one platform, let's say, get the resources there, go to the other one and do the upload. You know, it gets complicated, and I know educators already are using a lot of tools, and it would really make a big problem for them to switch in different platforms. So what we want to do is we want to be part of their existing systems. Most of the institutions, depending on the solutions that they have, we most probably, like, it's a high probability that we already have a partner in that field. So, you know, once we understand the tech, you know, solutions that the institution uses, we may say, oh, this is a partner of ours, we will link you to them, will be part of, you know, the process of helping you and everything, but you can get it from them easier and much faster because, you know, of the legal processes, of many other processes that need, you know, to verify a vendor. And for us being a newcomer, I mean, in a global sense, especially in US, we don't want these institutions to go through this, you know, very difficult legal problems. So what we do is we simplify the process by working with another company. Just to give you a context, currently I'm in Arizona because I'm meeting with Proctorio, an assessment company, a proctoring company that uses our solution, and it's working with other universities, and yeah, it's just a, you know, a fun meeting with them and seeing where we are at with the progress. So this is our approach in kind of allowing institutions to adopt such solutions. But yeah, we are always open to create a customizable and you know, personalized approach for each institution depending on their needs that they have, because our solutions is basically we have the core technology that, you know, we deliver on that, but then the way that we integrate and the way that we organize these workflows, it all depends on the institutional needs, and we can deliver on almost every need that they have in the process, whether in data privacy or access to the user data or access to their content that they have. So we have a very, very robust and user-friendly platform that allows full control and access over institutional data, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to lock in institutions with our solutions. So we allow them in one day to migrate everything they have from us to another platform without having any problems, because we believe that our value should be on the engine, on the technology, not on their data. Because, you know, imagine a student has been writing their thesis or dissertation for, like, you know, a year or a year and a half, and then we kind of try to capitalize on that. I don't like that approach. Like, if they want to keep it private to themselves, they have all the right to do that because they've put all the work in that writing. So we try to respect all of these, you know, needs and you know, preferences that both our students and educators have in the process.
Wow, that just sounds like a super smart way to provide folks with your services, so that way everyone is happy. It's
Exactly.
easy. It's happy. It's easy, and they're happy, and it just makes it, like I said, just easier. which is
Yeah, and
such,
just to add one thing here,
yeah.
what we also kind of incentivize in a way institutions is to share their data with other institutions. Because, for example, let's just give you a case: student from institution A submits a
Mhm.
document, but we cannot check with documents from institution B because they want to keep it private. What we do is we give them potential discounts and all different incentives. So they share this data and they create an ecosystem among institutions. So they have, this shared approach of
Yeah.
data, like an open science approach.
Mhm.
You allow both, you check the originality of that document, but you also protect the intellectual property right of your document by not allowing others to copy from it. But it's all of this is under your control. It's just we try to put the right incentives that you do this and you create this collaboration with other institutions as well. And yeah.
Yeah, again, it just the collaboration component that you talked about earlier. There it is again. So I like
Yeah,
that theme a lot. I like the mindset that you have as a company to make sure that collaboration
thank you.
is a big part of it. Yeah, that's great. So I'm gonna ask you our last two questions, but before I do, I have to ask you this one question. Obviously, artificial intelligence. I would love to get your input as to what you think is going to happen specifically with artificial intelligence education, K through 12, higher education, you're just learning in general. What do you think is going to happen in the future when it comes to artificial intelligence and the way we learn?
Yeah, I think that AI in education is a must, in my opinion. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that we need to have and use and learn how to properly use AI in both researching, kind of thinking together with a computer, brainstorming with a computer, creating, a better approach on how we present our arguments and so on. I think it's one of the most helpful tools that can
Yeah.
be adopted in education. We are completely for, and we really don't believe in banning, stopping, or kind of controlling the way that AI is used. What we just want to make sure is that you don't rely too much on it, and there is
Yeah.
no, let's say, originality, or there is no critical thinking that you put to it, or a
Hmm.
student puts to it. That's the part that we really want to make sure that you don't overuse it in a sense that you want to kind of take a shortcut. We think that's a great tool for
Yeah.
everyone to use. It's just not a great tool for you to use it as a shortcut. That's something that we don't believe should happen. And I think in the future, this will be like, an inseparable part of students, but even as us as humans. It's not only for education. We will
Mm.
grow to kind of we will evolve and live with it like we do with smartphones. Like, no one can think
Mm.
today living without a smartphone. The same, I think, it's gonna
Yeah.
be with AI. Like, it's been the comparison with calculators. I think that's a
Yeah.
good one, but still, why we teach math is because of the logic and the way that we need, to think better. It's not that, calculator has, outsourced our thinking in terms of mathematics. We still need, to learn mathematics the same way we still need to do research, we still need to write, but, we use ChatGPT for, fast things and potentially brainstorming and, overcoming a potential writer block or something like that. Because, even students are a bit stressed with a lot of assessment, a lot of, let's say, writing assessment, a lot of research essays and so on. And sometimes, these tools can actually be helpful to them to reduce this workload
Mm.
and to kind
Yeah.
of absorb faster the information that is needed in an assessment or an course.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I think banning ChatGPT and AI, other AI tools is just nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. And I assume that eventually in the future that's just going to stop and people will realize that it doesn't make sense, and focus more on how do we teach students to be more creative and have original thought, like the original, verification that we talked about, right? Original thought, and then verify that it's original, obviously. That's going to be a big
Exactly.
component of it. Yeah. And then I think the whole idea of how do we assess them is going to change as well, which I think is going to be very interesting to see. But this has been fascinating. This is great. Okay, last two questions for you. So number one, what did we not say about your company that was not mentioned? Maybe you got something coming up, a new feature, or like you talked about your, in Arizona, you got some things going on over there. So if we miss something, now is the time. Feel free to kind of talk about what you want to talk about. And then a last question for you is, what do you see as the future of higher education?
Oh, great. The first one, maybe I'll just like to address the thinking behind that AI content detectors are being perceived as an end solution to the problem of potential
Hmm.
cheating problem. I would just like to kind of reinforce on that AI content detectors or AI detection score is just one metric. It's not gonna be accurate, like it's not similarities checking accurate. It's not gonna be like an end result to this problem, the end solution to this problem is just it, but we need them to be part of this bigger, let's say, bigger picture. They are just one metric, and it's very beautiful. And I saw this coming from OpenAI when they launched their own text classifier. They said, like, don't use this solution as an as an end solution in terms of judging a document. Use it in conjunction with other solutions as well for academic integrity, like plagiarism. And it's like more solutions need to come along the way, and more creative analysis on writing need to come along the way, because and this is what I think is being wrongly perceived in the education space, where we have these institutions like two extremes. We have the institutions that want to catch students writing, with AI and potentially penalizing them just based on one score, and then we have the institutions that say, these are completely biased and we don't want to use. I think that both approaches are wrong. I think that if you take only one metric and try to make, let's say, a judgment out of it, it's not the whole picture. It needs to be more of a, let's say, a holistic approach to this problem. We need more, let's say, a peripheral type of analysis. We have started with the similarity checking, but there are a lot of other analysis, one of them being bibliometric scoring. So what we are trying to build currently that will come along in the coming months is we want to try and analyze first whether the student has properly used referencing style in their writing. Secondly, if those in-text citations are actually corresponding to the reference list. And third, if those in the reference list, what's the quality of the references in the reference list? Like, what's the impact factor of a publication? Where have you found them? Are they mainly websites, or their latest research? And doing all these kind of analysis, and adding these kind of metrics to analysis, and AI detection being one part of them, it adds value, and it actually helps educators analyze and have proper feedback for the student. Because just to give you one example, there are cases where we might ask students to do a prompt in ChatGPT and treat that. So what we want to do is we want to see that actually the student has properly structured that prompt. We want to know which are the parts that ChatGPT has kind of contributed to the document. And most importantly, we want to know the part when it needs to be completely the student thinking is not ChatGPT. So, these are the things that once we redesign a bit assessment, we rethink on the assessment, they will become much more valuable than they are now. And I'm okay with people being a bit, skeptic on this approach, because it's new, and you should not take it for, let's say, for granted that the end result is, the most accurate one, because it's not, and we have to be very transparent on that.
Yeah, 100%. I love everything you said. I'm so in agreement with you. It's great. This is great conversation. I appreciate your time. So if people want to find you, where's the best place for them to find you?
They can find us on our website for sure. Like we have all the social media and especially we are mostly active in LinkedIn, so they can find us there. But you know, they can reach us through our website without the problem, like crossplag.com, CROSSPLAG.com. So it's not that difficult to find us, and we'll get back to everyone writing to us with the proper answer, and we can begin from there.
Okay, excellent. We'll make sure to put this in the show notes. So again, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I've learned a lot, and hopefully our listeners would learn a lot too. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, your guest today, his name is?
Besart.
Wait, how do you pronounce your last name though, Besart?
Kunushevci. It's a bit complicated.
I love it. And he is founder and CEO of
Crossplag.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You've just EdUp.
Experience Element 451's Engage Summit Conference this June and get ready to unleash the power of AI in higher ed marketing. Deep dive into how this emerging tech will revolutionize the education landscape, from personalized student engagement to turbocharging your marketing efforts with AI. These sessions are guaranteed to help you smash your enrollment goals. Connect with like-minded professionals, explore cutting-edge ed tech products and services, and leave with the knowledge to supercharge your institution's growth. Don't wait. Register now at engage.element451.com and seize your chance to lead the pack in the AI-driven education revolution. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off your registration. Now, what can you expect at AT23? That's Anthology Together 2023. Well, expect to look into the future, expand your network, and explore solutions with experts. You're going to hear from industry thought leaders. You're going to connect with countless opportunities and people representing different institutions across the globe. You might even get to test out some new tech and help drive future anthology technology. That's right, Anthology Together. Registration is open at anthologytogether.com.